Welcome to Pixar Movie Reviews. I'm Josiah Melky. In 2015, Pixar for the first time had two movies. Inside Out, which did really well at the box office, got extremely good critical reviews, and won several Best Animated Feature awards. And The Good Dinosaur, which got mixed to good critical reviews, and was Pixar's first box office failure. The following summer 2016, Pixar bounced back with their fifth follow-up film, meaning it follows up one of the previous films, and overall was Pixar's 17th feature film, Finding Dory, the sequel to Finding Nemo. Released at theaters summer 2016, just under 6 years after Toy Story 3, Finding Dory can be compared to Toy Story 3 in the fact that they're both sequels, Toy Story 3 to the first two Toy Stories, and Finding Dory, the sequel to Finding Nemo. They both came out years after the last film. Finding Dory was a record-breaking 13 years after Finding Nemo, longer than the 10.5 years between Toy Story 2 and 3, and the 11.5 years between Monsters Incorporated and its prequel, Monsters University. Also like Toy Story 3, Finding Dory was a billion-dollar grossing hit at the box office, becoming one of the highest-grossing, if not the highest-grossing animated film of 2016, and got extremely good critical reviews. I was on summer mission at Walt Disney World during the summer of 2016. I was working as a Walt Disney World employee as part of a Christian organization, and I got to see Finding Dory in theaters at the AMC Theater in downtown Disney with a bunch of my friends from the church project. Finding Dory at downtown Disney was a splendid experience, and I had a great time. The movie itself is very good. While some people regard it as worse than Finding Nemo, or generally not as good as Finding Nemo, I actually think Finding Dory has a story worth living up to. Pixar has never prided themselves on doing the same thing twice, or has prided themselves on not doing the same thing twice, or whatever. Finding Dory does feel like a retread of Finding Nemo, but there are notable differences. I'll explain why as I tell the story. A prologue explains that Dory as a kid had been suffering from short-term memory loss ever since she was little. Her parents, Jenny and Charlie, who are new characters voiced by Diane Keaton and Eugene Levy, attempt to help her remedy the problem. We learn that as a kid, Dory got taken away from her parents and grew up struggling to remember what was going on or who she was. When she reached adulthood, Dory, who as we all know is voiced by Ellen DeGeneres as an adult, ran into Marlin the Clownfish, voiced by Albert Brooks, who was looking for his son, Nemo. Since we already know the story of Finding Nemo, it then skips ahead to 1 year later, when Dory now lives next door to Marlin and Nemo, with Nemo now voiced by Hayden Rawlins due to his original voice actor, Alexander Gould, being all grown up. However, they loved working with Alex on the film so much, he did additional voices in the film. You might not recognize him right away, since he's all grown up, but one of his roles is credited, so you at least have an idea of one character he voices. During a class field trip with Nemo and friends to the Stingray Migration, Dory suddenly begins to remember things, and remembers she's got family at the Jewel of Morro Bay, California, and enlists Marlin and Nemo to help her. They get a ride on the California Current from Crush and Squirt and their sea turtle friends, and eventually reach the Jewel of Morro Bay, California, which is the Marine Life Institute, where the announcer, Sigourney Weaver, teaches everyone about rescue, rehabilitation, and release. From there, similar to the first movie, we break off into two separate stories. The main story is Dory trying to help her parents with the help of some new friends. Hank, a grumpy octopus missing a tentacle, voiced by Ed O'Neill. Destiny, a nearsighted whale shark, voiced by Caitlin Olsen. And her neighbor Bailey, a beluga whale who's convinced he can't echolocate and is voiced by a friend of Ed O'Neill's from Modern Family, Ty Burrell. At the same time, Marlin and Nemo get help looking for Dory from a group of sea lions voiced by Idris Elba and Dominic West, and their friend Becky the bird. Finding Dory, as a sequel to Finding Nemo, which for a time was Pixar's highest-grossing movie ever until Toy Story 3 came along. Finding Dory has some very good positives and some decent weaknesses. The positives, I think, outweigh the weaknesses. Dory as the protagonist, when she was the co-star of the first movie, could have been a big problem, especially when you consider that the Minions movie came out summer 2015, right after Inside Out, and did really well at the box office, but got mixed reviews, because critics didn't think that the Minions could carry their own story. But in this case, Dory is a likable protagonist, and her story of trying to find her family is something I think we can relate to in the fact that she has short-term memory, and there are disabilities we wish we didn't have. But if we put them to good use, they can be our greatest strengths. It also helps that most of the original voice cast came back, and that the new characters are very good. Such characters as Hank, who initially doesn't want to help anybody, he just wants to be left alone, but learns the importance of friendship. You've also got Destiny and Bailey, who have disabilities like Dory, but they're different disabilities, and they help make them better creatures when they put them to good use. I wish we had gotten more of the sea lions that help Marlin and Nemo, but it helps that we get two separate stories so we can follow our key characters, so that Dory has something to learn since she's the main character, but Marlin and Nemo are also not just throwaway characters that need to rescue Dory by the end of the film. I also really, really love the animation. I know I've said this on probably every Pixar review I've done, but the animation in Finding Dory in the 13 years since Finding Nemo really kicks it up a notch, with all the humans, and the animation of the water, and the sets with the Marine Life Institute and whatnot. It's all so beautiful. And it helps that with the humans, since they've gotten so well with doing humans in computer animation, rather than create a whole bunch of new humans, which they did create some new humans, but they also reused humans from past films like Inside Out and the original Finding Nemo. As for weaknesses, while Finding Dory with the credits is a few minutes shorter than Finding Nemo, it's still maybe a little one at about 97 minutes. Finding Nemo was 100. They probably could have condensed the rescue at the end, when Marlin and Nemo are stuck in the truck and then Dory gets stuck in the truck and she and Hank need to get out of there. It's also disappointing that the tank gang doesn't come back, save for the very end of the credits. They originally had a bigger role in the film, but it took away from Dory's story, so the tank gang had to be condensed to a scene after the credits. So even if you don't watch the credits, you'll want to fast forward to the end to watch the tank gang. Also, some people complain about the use of the song Unforgettable, performed here by Sia during the end credits, and they complain that's not a good song choice. I don't mind it that much, considering the fact that Sia had just helped out with the Gazelle Shakira song, Try Everything, in Zootopia. But I can understand why it might not work for everyone. So, Finding Dory isn't perfect, but I think it's definitely one of the better Pixar sequels. Currently, I have Finding Dory at number 6 on my ranking of all the Pixar movies. So let me know what you think of Finding Dory. Where are you at on it? And thanks so much. This has been Pixar Movie Reviews. I'm Josiah. Thanks for watching.